And Connor Perrett is here to talk about that.
Karen, at an event at a Columbus church last weekend, people said they just wanted to talk to Ohio Senator Rob Portman, but since he says he won't hold a town hall event, they had another idea, a memorial service.
It had all the makings of a memorial service, a pianist, a choir, mourners, even a casket. Yet, no one had died. Instead, around 200 people gathered at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus on Sunday to mourn the lack of a town hall by U.S. Senator Rob Portman, who did not hold an in-person town hall with his constituents during the United States Senate's recess in February. The memorial, sponsored by Indivisible Columbus, a group whose mission is to resist the Trump agenda, did just that, condemning Portman's support for all of President Trump's cabinet picks and Portman's refusal to address those complaints in a large, open forum with his constituents. Speakers' concerns range from the environment, Portman's stance on school choice, Russia's potential involvement in the election, to the president's rhetoric about refugees, concerns they said they wish they could have addressed to Senator Portman in person.
Can you ensure that special needs services will be delivered regardless of public or private school? Since vouchers take funding away from public schools, how can you ensure that the children with special needs don't suffer? That they will receive the therapies and aids that they need at no extra cost to them, or without pulling funding away from other areas of public education?
But the fact is, regardless Muslim or any other refugee from any country, Muslim, non-Muslim, whoever, since 1980, there is not a single fatal crime by refugees that has been committed on American land. Not a single crime. Before 1980, there was one crime by 3 Cuban refugees that was committed on the land of America. So this is the fact, and they need to know the facts, unless they try to make it, these are the alternative facts, but they are not. Please understand. What are the facts, and have your facts straight, Senator Portman.
Questions about whether Portman is making himself available are hardly new. An article from the Columbus Dispatch last month claimed that Portman was responsible for barring Democrats from a Lincoln Day dinner he attended in Sandusky County. Portman denied those claims. Days later, at a conference about the state's opioid epidemic, Portman said he is available. At that conference, he met for about 30 minutes with a dozen Ohioans who showed up uninvited, and they said Portman was responsive to their concerns.
Yeah, I just met with protesters this morning, and I'm about to go meet with the group again, maybe a different group. I'm very accessible, as you all know. I think I was just told I've had 475 events in the state in the last year, and this event right now is open. In fact, I invited the protesters in. I don't know if any of them came, but I'm focused on issues that matter to Ohio.
In a statement, Portman's office said Monday, the opinions of every constituent matters to Rob. Whether it's visiting with Ohioans at a drug treatment center, a factory tour, or a town hall meeting, Rob continues to have a very active schedule. He's also taken the time to meet with demonstrators around the state and will continue to listen to their concerns. But the group who met with Portman at the opioid conference said he wouldn't commit to consider appearing at an in-person town hall event. Portman is not alone. Videos of town hall meetings around the country have surfaced showing frustrated and angry constituents waving signs and shouting down officials. They're similar to what some Democrats saw in fiery public meetings around the time of the passage of the Affordable Care Act. Though Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan took questions after being confronted by protesters at public forums, U.S. Representatives Steve Stivers, Pat Tiberi, Jim Renacci, and Mike Turner have said they won't be at these sort of town halls organized by their opponents. But other members of Ohio's congressional delegation have offered alternative opportunities to reach them, such as meetings over the phone and on Facebook. Back at the Portman protest, event organizers wanted to show that they could be peaceful and respectful while still expressing their concerns. Concerns they say can't be expressed at one of the teletown halls or other events Portman says show he's available.
The reality is that people want an opportunity to be heard. I haven't received any of these anonymous contacts. If I had, I doubt that I would then, in a call of 150,000 people, have the opportunity to ask my specific questions, which I did email his director in Columbus very specific questions. They may make him uncomfortable, but I think I'm entitled to an answer.
As they exited, those in attendance shared their concerns by placing them in the casket for the town hall. Organizers say those cards will be hand-delivered to Portman's office.
It was great to see how many people care about what's happening and they're willing to speak up and work together to try to make sure that bad things don't happen for our country.
Here on Tuesday, outside of Portman's Columbus office, people gathered once more. This time, they want to get his attention about President Trump's revised executive order concerning travel from Muslim-majority nations. If one thing's for sure, attempts to get Portman's attention show no signs of slowing down. For the state of Ohio, I'm Connor Perrett.
Connor Perrett is a fellow in the E.W. Scripps School of Journalism, State House News Bureau.
The Department of Veterans Affairs currently gets a 24% discount on most prescription drugs, but proponents of Issue 2 are trying to level the paying field. Issue 2 is known as the Drug Price Relief Act, and it only affects prescriptions being purchased for the state by the state. This includes the Ohio Department of Medicaid. Supporters say that Issue 2 could save Ohioans between $150 and $500 million annually. But critics say the issue could be difficult to apply. Ohio would have to maintain a record of what the VA pays for these prescriptions in order to better match their own prices. Prescriptions in Ohio are also already reduced under Medicaid by 23.1%, which isn't too different from the VA's 24% discount. Some opponents say Issue 2 could also negatively impact people on private insurance, which is over 64% of the state. Miss a part of the series? You can watch the Voter's Guide in its entirety on thenewpolitical.com.
It's an experience for all ages.
This is my great niece, and I just got her for the weekend, and we live up near Columbus. Just brought her down to experience it. She's never been on a train before.
They're just fun. I mean, they take you through areas you don't get before.
But for some, it's more than just weekend fun. Bob Leonards has always been a train guy.
I have a little train layout in my basement, as a matter of fact.
And Bob has taken his love around the country.
I've always enjoyed or had a love for railroads. I worked for the railroad for the New York Central back in the 60s, a long time ago, but
now he's operating at different speeds in a different city, but he's still working on the railroad, the Hocking Valley Scenic Railway.
I qualified for locomotive engineer this last year, so I also am qualified to operate the locomotive. A lot of times I'll do the PA announcing and whatever else they need me to do, basically.
So you wear a lot of hats?
A lot of hats.
The railway got its start transporting coal and bricks as the Hocking Valley Railroad in the late 19th century. In 1910, it became part of the Chesapeake and Ohio, or C&O. When local brick mills closed, it was sold off and became the Scenic Railway in the 70s. And it's certainly changed over the past 45 years.
The first train station was just basically a tarp that was thrown over some tent poles, and our present depot was built in 1992, and that's a replica of the station of Rising Sun, Ohio on the original Hocking Valley Railroad.
Ridership has grown to about 30,000 a year since the railway turned scenic in 1972, and while it could always use more passengers, there's something it needs first.
We recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, have gotten some grants through the Department of Transportation of Ohio that has helped us rehabilitate some of our track work. It's well over $1 million right now. We had to match a lot of that ourselves. For every couple $100,000 that we got from the state, we had to put up about $100,000 ourselves.
Those expensive repairs are funded mainly through ticket sales, but there are also donations and the occasional grant from ODOT. Special trains like the Halloween Boo Train or the summertime mock train robberies help keep the nonprofit operation afloat.
Those special trains that we run are very popular. Almost all of them are sellouts. And it kind of helps us get over the hump, the break-even hump, you might say.
But for now, the train chugs along. New air-conditioned and open-air cars were recently added to the fleet. Fall foliage rides will continue through the end of October. Train rides will return in late November for the Santa train. In Nelsonville, this is Connor Perrett reporting.
And welcome back. So taco, as we said in that video, was one of the most controversial
things on the ballot this year. But like I said at the top of the show, it looks like taco passed. So here to answer some questions about the most controversial issue on the ballot tonight is TNP reporter Delaney Murray. Delaney, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
So let's get right into taco.
Right.
Taco deals with marijuana depenalization. What exactly is depenalization?
Right, so that's a term that's been thrown around a lot. It's not a term we're used to hearing when it comes to marijuana, so a lot of people are confused about that, which is what we qualify as penalties.
But laws against this still exist on the state level. So
right.
What exactly allows the city of Athens to do this?
Right. Well, that would be Article 18, specifically Section 3, public support to actually go on the ballot.
So clearly this had a lot of support from voters tonight.
Yes.
Were there any local politicians who supported this measure?
Not that I know of. It seems there were more small groups, so the taco group themselves, and then I think just citizens in general. I didn't hear really a lot of general support from local politicians. So.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see this
yes.
implemented. Delaney Murray, thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us. When we come back, we'll be looking at Issue 1. We'll be right back.